Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is guess. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear guess used is to mean to estimate or suppose something without having enough information to be certain of being correct. Okay. So you might imagine you're planning a party, you send out invitations, some people respond, right? But you still haven't heard from some people. At some point, you're going to have to buy food or other supplies for this. You might have to estimate how many people are coming. You might not be correct because you don't have enough information. A second way you might hear guess used is to mean to make a speculation about something. Sometimes we guess at what another person is thinking or feeling. They haven't told us. We don't have maybe enough information to know for sure, but we have this idea. A third way you might hear guess used is to mean to correctly speculate or perceive. I wanted to point this third definition out because I felt like my first two explanations were kind of supposing that these estimates or speculations were going to be wrong, but you can absolutely correctly speculate or know something. A fourth and more informal way to use this verb guess is to use it in a way that means think or suppose. And really what it means is someone lacks a really strong feeling as they say it. Let me give you an example of this. Uh, I might say, I guess I should go to bed. I guess. I guess I should go to bed. It means I think. Now, it's not a must, an absolute thing. So I don't have that strong feeling. But and you might hear other people more commonly just say, I think I should go to bed, right? I believe. Okay? This word can be used in the same way. You should know that guess is a regular verb. To make the progressive tense, all you need to do is add ing to form guessing. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by adding ed. Our base verb, guess, ends in an unvoiced s sound. So our past tense ending is going to make a t sound. Guessed, guessed. Okay. Now, I do have one phrasal verb to share, and that is to guess at. And really, this just means someone is sharing some possibility about what something else might be. An example of this could be I guessed at the measurements, right? So we don't know exactly what object here is being measured, right? Maybe it's a picture, right? You look at it and you think, that looks like a 4 by 6, right? So we didn't take a ruler out and measure, right? We just gave our thoughts as to what a possibility could be. Now let's continue to practice our verb of the day, guess. Today we're going to practice the present perfect and the imperative. Let's start with the present perfect. We use this verb tense to talk about an action that started in the past and continues into the present. We also use it to describe something that occurred in the past but at an unknown time, or you might hear this called the indefinite past. Okay? To make the present perfect, I need two parts, and I must pay attention to my subject. If my subject is I, you, we, or they, I'm going to use have, but if my subject is he, she, or it, I'm going to use has. Okay, so my first part here is have or has, and then I use the participle form of the verb. Let's take a look at an example sentence. I don't know if anyone is playing the game Wordle. It's becoming very popular. You might see people sharing images from the game in social media, but this is my first example here. The yellow squares in Wordle indicate that a player has guessed a correct letter, but its placement is wrong. Now, if you don't know what this game is, this sentence probably is not making a lot of sense to you, but what it is people trying to essentially guess, right? Make a prediction with limited information about what a 5-letter word is. And so you begin the game by offering up a word, and then the letters change colors based on if they are in the word and in the right place, or in the word but in the wrong place. You're eventually trying to get 5 green letters in a row. Okay, I can put a link to under the video here in case you're curious or want to check it out. Now let's take a look at making a present perfect sentence. Okay, to do this, right, I'm going to again start with have or has, whichever form matches my subject. Then I'm going to have not, then the participle. You might hear people use a contraction like haven't or hasn't, and you can see a contraction in my example here. They haven't guessed correctly all week. Right? So if this is an action that has repeated, I'm measuring from a certain point in time in the past, and noting, maybe connected to this game, someone is having very bad luck and not coming up with the correct word. Another thing we can do is make a yes or no question in the present perfect. To do this, I'm going to start with have or has, then I'm going to have my subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Here's another example. Have you guessed what I got you? Right? So sometimes people will do this with a particular gift, right? They sort of want to know if you're able to think, if you're able to perceive what it is they selected as a gift for you. Now let's take a look at making sentences in the imperative. You might know this as a command. Okay? So what's unique about the imperative is that we do not have a stated subject. Right? The subject is always implied. So if I'm speaking to one person, it's you singular. But if I'm speaking to a group of people, then it's you plural. Okay? Maybe you've heard an example like this imperative. Guess who showed up at the party? Right? So maybe someone's telling a story and they're sort of surprised, and they're asking the listener to sort of again use the limited information they might have to speculate about who was at this particular party. Okay. So that's how we make a positive or affirmative command. We can start with just that base verb. Now, if that seems too direct, you can always add please at the beginning of the sentence or please at the end. You don't need it in both places, though. Okay. Now let's take a look at making a negative imperative. To do that, we're going to use do not and then the base verb. Or you can use the contraction don't in the base verb. And just like with the affirmative, you can always soften this with please at the beginning or end of the sentence. So an example here, don't guess her age. Right? We might say, oh, nothing's going to go well here, because if you guess too high, that person might become offended, right? Think, I look that old. And maybe if you guess too young, do you think I'm immature? Right? So probably a good piece of advice to avoid guessing someone's age. Now, let's take a quick moment to look at some words that are related to our verb of the day, guess. And the first word we're going to look at is just the noun form of this word. So when the word guess is used as a noun, you're probably noticing same pronunciation, same spelling here. But what I'm referencing is some estimate or some speculation. An example here. Do you have any guesses as to what is in the box? Right? Can you speculate, right? What things might be in this particular container? Another related word you might hear is the noun guesser. That suffix er usually tells us a person who, and in this case, we go back to our verb here, a person who guesses. An example here. I'm not a particularly good guesser. I've had a few students say that in the past as they've been maybe a little hesitant to answer questions in class, and that's okay. Some people are really good, others maybe not, and that's okay. Lastly, let's take a look at a related verb. It's to second guess. Okay. When this gets used, particularly in the United States, someone is referencing judging or criticizing someone either for something they decided, something they did, and they're using information that they have in the present, right? They maybe didn't have that information before, and so that's kind of that idea of second guessing. Here's an example. He is second guessing his decision to move to a place he had never visited, right? So here he's kind of sort of criticizing his own actions, his own decision, and like, wow, now that I'm here, this wasn't a really good idea. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.